Good afternoon, everybody. Big Mike back here with you once again. Welcome back to Big Mike Talks, where today I'm going to bring to you the week that was in pro wrestling. I'm going to try to make this a little quicker than usual, so this video isn't over an hour. And it's going to be covering NWA Power and AEW September to Remember, which is honestly a cool name for a special. So we're going to get into it. Starting off with NWA Power, we are post Crockett Cup. So we're going to get some interesting characters on this show. So we start off with a match, which, thank you NWA, we got Kylie Page, the sister to the women's champion Kenzie Page, taking on Gabby Forza, but they kept calling her something weird. Nomi. I guess she had a gnomish look. I'm just gonna call her Gabby. Honestly, it's just easier for me. Gabby definitely overpowered Kylie for a while. One point, Kylie locks in a pretty deep-looking sleeper hold, but Gabby powers out of it. Gabby hits a combination power slam Vader bomb, which, that was impressive. One right after another for a 2 count. Gabby goes for a big power bomb that gets blocked into a sunset flip. Kylie rolls out of that to hit a big old drop kick to pick up the win. I'm not 100% sure if that finish has a name, but this was a really fun opener. A really, David versus Goliath feel to it. But the usual tropes aren't there, because David, aka Kylie, is the heel. Gabby, I guess, technically is the babyface. She definitely worked babyface, and with the limited sample size I've seen of her, she's definitely very good. So next up, we catch up with the Prince of Old School, Kobe Carino, where he says, "Last week just wasn't my week, but my time will come. But I'm hearing from Carson Drake that you have been complaining about the title you didn't lose. And Drake, I have a little advice for you. You need to be a little more humble, and maybe I'm the one to put some humbling on him." Which, that's great line. A little bit awkward on the delivery, but Kobe is turning into one of my favorite wrestlers going today. He's got the look, he does a lot of really good stuff in the ring. I'm surprised he's not with a big promotion right now. Although, I'm happy he's in NWA. Don't get me wrong. So then we go back to a familiar setting. It is a, hobby shop, I guess. With, I don't even know the cashier's name. I don't think we've ever identified this guy. And he's talking to Lev and Alex Misery of the Lost. And they're arguing, saying, "Oh, why did you bring me here? This is so bougie. You're the one who brought me here." And then the cashier, or owner, I guess? I don't know what the title of this dude is. Pretty much says, "Look, this is all vintage. He's got an old N64 or whatever. Please don't smash stuff." So as that conversation is going on, Mike Mondo rolls in, and he's looking yoked. Even under his, civilian outfit. You can tell that dude's yoked out of his mind. So he goes up to the cashier, kind of pushes his way through the Lost, saying, "Look, I'm looking for a 24-hour gym. Can you point me in that direction? So the cashier gives him a little inquisitive look, saying, dude, I'm having deja vu. Have we done this before? So Mondo gets a little, I guess, kind of offended look on his face, saying, look, I don't know who you are. I don't believe we've ever met. But you really don't know what I am? But what the heck is this place? And now you're here. So the cashier leans in and says, you're Mike Mondo, right? You're big, strong Mondo. Well, now there's a big, strong someone else, right? Then Mondo says, what are you talking about? It's Mondo time. Then the conflict resolution head guy, who I didn't know the name of, but we learn it here, walks from behind the counter, pretty much says, look, you don't remember me? Conflict resolution. That is a tongue twister. He says, I'm Dr. Vic. You don't remember me from the workshop? Mondo then kind of grabs the dude by the collar, says, save your conflict, whatever. I'm just gonna smash your face in. I don't know either of you. You're nothing more but a bunch of freaks. And I don't mess with freaks. And he walks off. So, I don't know if this Dr. Vic is going to be like a regular character. Like, what was the dude's name from, that brought together Kane and Bryan Danielson? It's either Dr. Shelby. I don't know if it's going to be like that, where he's going to, like, unite, like, Mike Mondo and the Lost or something. Or if he's just going to pop up randomly. But the fact that we have a name for this guy now, it's interesting. Maybe he becomes a regular. I don't think he's going to wrestle. Maybe he manages Mike Mondo. I don't know. Could be interesting. Then we get this next matchup. And it did take a while to get here. But we got something interesting. A wrestler I haven't personally seen in a while. Currently one half of the House of Glory Tag Team Champions. And former MLW employees. I wonder why that relationship soured. Midas Black, who is honestly really entertaining. Making his NWA debut against former television champion Carson Drake. And this was an interesting start to the match. Starting with a lockup, Drake hits a takeover immediately into the Carson Shuffle, which looks like the dumbest stance I've ever seen. Go back into a lockup. Midas Black hits a takeover on Drake. Midas then does the Carson dance, which I guess that got into Carson's head because then he just turned it on. Like he was on Midas Black pretty much the entire time. Midas Black with a Pele kick kind of near the end, getting a 2 count. And Carson Drake, big old low blow, hitting a stock market crash, which is his Russian leg sweep, which is a interesting name for a finisher. Then locks in the capital gains tax, which that is another interesting name for a finish to pick up the submission win. While I do wish this match was given a teeny bit more time, that was a really fun match, really underrated. I'm going to say if you have a couple minutes of time, go check it out. Then we lead backstage to a Carson Drake interview. And actually walking up to him is Oh, who was it? Anyway, so Drake says, one thing I can't stand, it's people who work at Amazon who mug me. And guy, I'm back. Carino, you're nothing but the son of a deathmatch guy. And you can talk smack on me all you want. But at NWA 77, I should whoop your ass like your dad should have. Actually, no, that was in the ring, so no one interrupted him. So then it cuts to backstage and looks like a pre-taped segment. It says it's after the match, but I swore it looked like it was maybe a little bit before. It's Carson Drake. He's walking along. He's kind of cleaning off his head with a towel. And then we see someone step out of the shadows. It's Aaron Stevens. And then Drake was like, oh, I haven't seen you in a while. How you been? Blah, blah, blah. Then Stevens just goes right in. If you don't know who Aaron Stevens, it was Damian Sandow from WWE. And he's dressed to the nines. He's got his loaded glove on his hand. So Stevens says, the saddest thing I've ever seen is wasted talent. You're looking back, wishing you could have done more in your career. And you clearly need someone to guide you. Your skills do need work, but I will work with you for free until you sign your first $1 million contract. Sound good? Stevens extends his hand. Carson Drake kind of rolls his eyes a little bit, but they end up shaking hands. So this partnership is going to be a little interesting. Like, they did have some small interactions previously, but I think this is their biggest one. And an alliance between the two? Maybe even bringing in their tag team. BFT, that's who it is. Alright. It could be an interesting group. So, anyway, fun little segment, interesting little match. We now go to our next matchup, and it's for the NWA Women's Tag Team titles. As we got TVMA, so that's Tiffany Nieves and Rossi. I forget her full name. Valentina Rossi. I apologize. Taking on Clara Carter and Saraya Vale, who is apparently a vampire, which, alright, I'm into it. Vale and Rossi started off. Vale getting some interesting arm drags off of Rossi, including a Shining Wizard for a 2 count. She goes for her big bite with her teeth, but Rossi moves out of the way, tags in Nieves, couple arm drags. Then Carter gets in, hits a big old suplex for a 2 count. Immediately tags in Vale. They do some double team moves. But eventually, Nieves gets Rossi back in. Couple of head smashes. Big old elbow strikes. And then an intentional choke, which I am very surprised Rossi didn't get disqualified. Nieves in. Big old splash. Immediately tags in Rossi for a body slam, in which Nieves and Carter tag in simultaneously. Trade elbows for a bit. Nieves with a suplex, and then a Death Valley driver for a 2 count. Then Rossi just destroys Vale on the outside, tossing her into the ring post. Carter goes for a big suplex. That gets blocked. Nieves with a roll-up for a 2. That gets countered. Nieves tags in, locks in the rear naked choke for the win for TVMA. And apparently they got Miss Star managing them, which, honestly, that could be a killer group. This was a fine defense. Like, honestly, I don't think it was anything special. Tiffany Nieves is an absolutely fantastic talent. Rossi is definitely getting there. And the two new-ish talents, I did like what they have to offer. But, yeah, we'll see. And we go backstage. It looks like he's in a locker room. It's just Daisy Kill. No Talos. Where he says, after the Crockett Cup, you'd think I'd be panicking. I'm more resolute than ever. And while everyone says to me, oh, you sent Talos off. You need protecting. No, I'm protecting Talos. Talos was protecting you all from me. Next week, me and my opponent are going to have the time of our lives. Opponent being, I believe it was, either it was Mims or it was someone else. Anyway, so, yeah, definitely some good setup for Daisy Kill. And, interesting no Talos right now. Maybe he's negotiating a contract. I'm not sure. Then we get a little video recap of the NWA title triple threat match from last week between Colby Corino, Rhino, and Tom Latimer. If you haven't seen this match, go back and check it out. It was really good. And then we get a promo from Mr. Tom Latimer saying, last week was no easy feat. I put away both Colby Corino and Rhino. I did what I do best. And now this title is going to be defended around the world. And I'm not... And everywhere I go, I'm going to defend this. I'm looking for the next guy to step up. And that's going to lead to something very interesting in a minute. But first, we get another little matchup. So we got the debut, I think it was the debut of Cristiano Argentino, who is, he looks like a Roman king from back in the day. Or Tsar, whatever you want to say. Like golden armor, he's got the olive branch crown. He's got that cape. He looks, and honestly, his physique, dang. As he goes up against Thrillbilly Silas Mason. And originally, I thought this was just going to be a 2-minute match. Argentino's got some good work. Like, he really brought it to Mr. Mason, including playing around the ring for a little bit. But eventually, after a big crossbody attempt, Silas catches him, drives him back first into the ring post, and then tosses him into the ring steps, gets him back in. Argentino tries to fight back for a little bit. Again, another crossbody attempt. Silas catches him, readjusts him into the thrill ride for the win. Then we see Alex Taylor and Kerry Morton come out to celebrate with their guy. And that's when the interviewer gets in the ring, says, where's the guy? And Silas Mason says, where's this guy? The guy who has my gold. And he claims he's American, but he's really British. Oh. At that point, I think everyone knew who he was talking about. Latimer, you travel around the world because you're running from me. The real challenge is right here. And if you got any balls in the Big Apple, New York City, I'm challenging you to the biggest fight of your life. At NWA 77, Tom Latimer, you're defending the NWA Championship against me. So, yeah, that was, that match was honestly really good. But then that promo setting Silas Mason up pretty perfectly for a future NWA title match. So next up, this is very, very weird. As we see outside the Cumbrath Isles, which apparently has something to do with Last Will and Testaments. I'll get into it. So we have I don't want to say coroner, but he's like the guy who reads off the last will to family and friends. He's out there. Well, here we are. First, let's do a roll call. Raise your hand if you are here. Goes down the line, and there's plenty of people missing. Now, I didn't quite get who, because that dude was going way too quick. So basically, this guy says, "Alright, to those who are here, welcome. To those who aren't, you are now disqualified from proceedings." So then the auditor, I guess, brings out this big sheet of paper and pretty much says, "Look, I may not like you people, but I'm putting you in my last will as a gift to you so you can benefit others. We're going to gather next week to discuss details." So then Kenzie Page is there. She raises her hand. No, it's not Kenzie Page. I think it's Hunter Drake, actually. Raises his hand, says, "So what's next week's meeting about?" Really? Were you not listening? So I'm just going to call him the coroner because that's the first name that pops in my head. Pretty much says, "Look, we'll discuss that next week, but I'm saying here that you are going to be put in the will of," I want to say he said Joe Kazana. I could be very, very wrong. He pretty much says, well, with a lot of people missing, you all are now about to make at least 8 figures. So, yeah, I'm not sure what this is going to be leading to. Either it's going to be a funeral segment, which, please God, no. Or it's going to be as people in the business call it, a swerve. Like, we're going to see a funeral segment, and then Joe's just going to wake up and say, "Gotcha." I don't know what this is going to set up. If this is going to set up like a match or something. This is just weird. And I don't really like it. Anyway, so we cut back to kind of right outside the arena for a Tiffany Nieves promo. And she says, "As the newest women's television champion, I should declare a title match for every week, but I set my sights a little higher for the women's tag team titles. But no matter what title I defend, I am always on TV. And if you don't like it, there's the door." So, nice short, sweet promo from Tiffany Nieves. I do hope we see a TV title match coming soon, because I do kind of miss it. And then we get the big one. We get the return of the Pope. That's right, D'Angelo Dinero, formerly known as Elijah Burke, if you remember him from WWE ECW. So he gets in the ring. It starts. The interviewer pretty much says, "Look, I have my questions. I'm sure you'll answer them. I missed hearing your voice. So here you go." He turns over his microphone Pope takes it. They shake hands. Pope takes in the admiration of the crowd for a minute. And then Pope starts. Says, when Billy hit me up about returning to the NWA, there was a little pause from me. And I had to think about my future. And I decided to have a conversation with myself. Which, fair. He says, Self, what do you think we should do? So myself said, Pope, you have been a lot of things. One thing I've never been is a procrastinator. So I said to Billy over the phone, I'm in. Then, I'm going to put this in perspective. I didn't come back on just a favor to William Patrick Corgan. I'm coming back for it all. And at that moment, Mims, the national champion, comes out. Gets in the ring. He and Pope embrace, which is very interesting. Gonna explain why in a second. With Mims saying, today, I am very happy. My favorite person is back in the NWA. And it's because of this man that I'm here. And if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here in the NWA. So that gets a little round of applause. Then Mims stops puts his hand up, says, but there's two things you said there that has me thinking. You said that things are changing quickly. And this is important change. Especially, me winning some gold? I am not the same Mims you met before, Pope. I don't think you're the same Pope either. And your second point, you want some NWA gold? I know the Pope very well. I can see through you. My brother, you may be looking for gold, but don't you ask me. Mims continues, I'll tell you, just like I told everyone else, you are just not on my level. Crowd starts booing. Mims turns to them and says, I can't tell the truth here? So Pope takes the microphone out of Mims' hands, says, Mims, I'm going to say this only once. I am proud of what you've accomplished here. But I have one last thing to show you. If you don't think Pope is on your level, you can prove it right here, right now. So Pope ditches his jacket. He looks like he wants to fight. Mims just kind of smiles, waves him off, and bails out of the ring. So, interesting little segment. No set time for this match has been set. But I got a feeling we're going to see it in NWA 77. We then get a nice little hype video for next week's Power, which I do apologize in saying I'm going to be missing. But I'll go over that at the end of this video. But that was a pretty fun follow-up episode to the Crockett Cup. We got some new faces. We got some returning faces. We got some interesting challengers. Things are lining up to be a very interesting NWA 77. So, overall, I had fun with this. And then that leads us to our next show, which was a 3-hour special from AEW, as it's September to Remember. Now, from what I've seen online, on HBO Max, the first 2 hours of this show was considered Dynamite, with the third hour being Collision, so it wasn't a concurrent broadcast like it was on TBS. So I watched the TBS version. It went right through for me. And we start off very interestingly with the AEW title match contract signing. We got Adam Page coming out first. He's dressed in his fabulous cowboy attire. He looks great. And out second, it's Kyle Fletcher, and he's dressed to the nines. He's got a nice purple suit, nice pink undershirt, and a tie. He looks like a superstar. No offense to Hangman. I love you, Hangman. But good Lord, Kyle Fletcher was dressed to the nines. So as Tony Schiavone was starting to address the contract, Don Callis grabs the microphone away from him and says, I have something very important to say to Adam Page. I remember you. When you took the belt from me, when you beat my former associate, Kenny Omega. And I'm thinking back and I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. Omega, Hangman was under Don Callis. Man, that felt like a lifetime ago. Like, that's wild. So, Don Callis continues, I found someone else who's bigger and better than both of you. And there's no one like Kyle Fletcher. And on Saturday, the belt is coming home to the family. So then Fletcher, Hangman Adam Page picks up his own microphone, says, I'm happy, and then stares down Kyle Fletcher, says, Don, you stay out of this. I'm talking to Kyle directly. I'm happy you agreed to not needing help during this match. I'm tired of half the roster getting involved in these world title matches, which, I'm going to say this is a little dig at WWE, because that's pretty much been their main events. So then Kyle Fletcher chimes in, says, I wouldn't need the entire family to beat you. No, this is actually still Hangman. I wouldn't need anyone else to beat you and your entire family. But Kyle, the reason I banned everyone from ringside is because I see what you could be. You could be in AEW for decades and be the face of the company. You want this title right now? You gotta beat the man who's worthy of it. And I wrote something down here in the fine print. If Don or any other family member gets involved in this match, not only will you be DQ'd, but you'll be stripped of the TNT title. Oh man, that's what I'm talking about. I love stakes like this. It kind of makes the match itself a bit more unpredictable. So Hangman continues. I've heard your big takes from last week. You think that scares... actually, no, this is Fletcher now. You think that scares me? You could have put anything you wanted in that contract, and I would have signed it. And Saturday, you have my word. No one in the family will get involved, but that doesn't matter. This Saturday, I fulfill my destiny. Kyle then sits back down, signs the contract, pushes it over to Hangman. And then Kyle continues, I am better than you in all aspects. AEW doesn't need you or Kenny Omega anymore. It has me, the Proto Star. And this Saturday, I do you a favor because I see that being a champion and holding up the company is a burden to you. Well, now both belong to me now. So then Hangman stands up and he says, I know how you feel, how it feels to be you right now. And know how it'll be after All Out. And I know you'll give me everything in your arsenal, but it won't be enough. Post All Out, do not disappoint me. So then Hangman signs the contract, pushes it to Schiavone, who picks it up, goes to leave, as does Hangman. But Fletcher stops and saying, hold on now. You know I'm a man of my word. But I'm promising you I'm leaving All Out with both titles. But tonight I get to leave you beaten and bloodied and maybe not able to attend All Out. But until that moment comes, you say my full name. Oh, I kind of want Kyle Fletcher to win. Like, I love Hangman Page. His journey has been great. I kind of want Kyle Fletcher to win this. Like, I think he just solidified. I don't know. It's going to be very interesting. Then we get a hype video for All Out for Darby Allin versus Jon Moxley in a coffin match, which that's going to be nuts. I kind of hope Sting... you know what? We don't need a ton of interference. But before Jon Moxley can get his hands on Darby, he now has to go through Roderick Strong of the Paragon. And we have this match, and honestly, this match was really, really good. Like, these two have some great chemistry together. I'm not sure if they worked a match together previously, but if they did, holy heck, that was impressive. So Strong is now on a roll after a little bit. After attempted Paragon Shift. At that point, Garcia grabs Strong's leg. But then Kyle O'Reilly comes around the corner. He brawls with Garcia to the crowd. Moxley attempts a roll-up, only gets a 2. Yuta then comes down. He holds on to Roderick Strong long enough for Mox to recover, hit the Paragon Shift, lock in the Bulldog Choke for the victory. And honestly, that match was a whole lot better than... Well, I know these two guys are a couple of super workers, and they put on a hell of a good match. So then we get a little recap of the MJF-Mark Briscoe feud, including Mark picking a tables and tacks match for their all-out match, which that should be brutal. So then we see backstage, we see MJF, he's power walking, he barges into Tony Khan's office. Now we don't see anything because the camera is just right outside the door. MJF says, look, we need to talk. You screwed me out of my title opportunity at Forbidden Door. You owe me one. I want out of this tables and tacks match. So then we hear Tony Khan say, after the way you've been acting, violating the rules of AEW and pro wrestling, so no, I will not be canceling this match. So then it sounds like MJF kind of slams something. He says, I hope you're happy when Mark is joining his brother in the dirt. Which, good lord, that was intense. Like, that was something else. Oh, that is... I am terrified of what MJF has in store. Because if it's as bad as he say it is, it's going to be a little interesting to watch. So, next up, we got a very interesting hoss fight of Toa Leona of the Gates of Agony Ricochet group, which definitely needs a name. Give them a name. Takes on the Hurt Syndicate's Bobby Lashley. And this, Holy cow, this was a hoss fight. Like, these were two big meaty men slapping meat. And Lashley, I'm going to say this. There are points where you can tell Lashley is not into something because it feels like he's going through the motions. This was a motivated Bobby Lashley. Like, he took all the bumps. He made Toa look like $1 million, including a Samoan drop onto the apron, which I can tell you from maybe not experience, but being in the ring a little bit, that's not fun. Then post flatliner spear combo, Ricochet rolls Toa out of the ring. Lashley is about to spear Toa again on the outside. Ricochet stands in his way. MVP with his cane just whacks Ricochet across the face. And the two groups just start brawling. Toa Leona gets Bobby Lashley back in the ring. Khan then gets up off the apron on the apron for some reason. Lashley is distracted for a minute. Shelton Benjamin then takes him off the apron, hits him with a beautiful super kick. Toa with a big old suplex for a 2 count. Toa looks to go for a power slam that gets blocked. Lashley locks in the Hurt Lock, but Toa counters out of it, hits a roll up for a 1 count. But then Lashley hangs on. Toa passes out, and Lashley wins. But post-match, you have Ricochet and Bishop Khan just beating the heck out of Bobby Lashley and the rest of the Hurt Syndicate. Yeah, that was a fun matchup. That definitely got me hyped for the Trios encounter on Saturday. And we got the in-ring face-to-face of FTR facing off with Adam Copeland, the former Edge, and Christian Cage. Now, Copeland and Cage come out first, and they take a minute to let the crowd finish singing Copeland's song, which is Metalingus. Then FTR comes out second, but they are surrounded by security guards. There's at least 10 dudes coming out with them. They stand around the ring, which is very interesting. So Stokely takes the microphone and says, "Look, you know the rules. If you touch either me or either member of FTR, it's $100,000 fines, and the match will be off." Oh, I actually forgot about this part. And then you will see the disappointment on your family's faces when you're not competing. So then Stokely gives the microphone to Cash Wheeler, with Cash saying, 16 years ago, I met you, Cope, for the first time. You were the biggest star I ever knew. You walked right in my gym, and we became friends instantly. You took me under your wing. You told me I could open the doors for you. And 10 years later, here we are, the best team of all time. We helped bring you back. But you came back here to AEW and you made it the Cope Show, leaving us as nothing more than your support, while we do all the actual work. And on Saturday, we finally take your career from you for good. At that point, which, dang, them's fighting words, Dax takes the microphone, says to Cage, technically to both of them, says, I'll admit, At one time, you were the best team on the planet, but only because they forced you to face two mediocre teams that carried you. Meanwhile, we're here carrying tag team wrestling on our backs, beat a myriad of different teams, including mentioning DIY and American Alpha, which that got me good. Holy cow. Dex continues, over 10 title reigns, over multiple brands. For you, this is a dream match, but for us, this is the life we are dealt. So then, at that point, Cope takes the microphone, says, shut the heck up. No wonder, talk about disappointment, no wonder you get no hoes, Stoke. And FTR, you broke this friendship up. I did so much for you guys. I came to AEW to help you. But there's a reason you guys aren't in the spotlight anymore. It's because they, the crowd, doesn't want you there. So Cage takes the microphone and says, we've been on top for 25 years. We made tag team wrestling important. No, this is still Cope, actually. We made tag team wrestling important again. And these are two of the best teams to ever face off. When it's done, you will understand why there's only one Cope in Cage. At that point, Cage's ears perk up, kind of drags the microphone over to his mouth, says, Cage and Cope, which that gets a fun little pop from the crowd. So Cage takes the microphone, says, you understand why we are better than you. Actually, no, that's still Cope. Cage then takes the microphone, says, I don't know about the rest of you, but $100,000 is a lot of money. And while that could get you a lot of hoes, at risk at sounding like an asshole, money is nothing to me. So at that rate, Cage and Copeland jump FTR and they have a big old brawl. Security breaks them up for a little bit. But then one security guard eats a kill switch from Cage. And then another one gets hit by a spear from Copeland. At that point, FTR is halfway up the ramp with Dax bleeding from the mouth a little bit. So that's going to be an interesting matchup. While it's probably not going to be my match of the night, it's still going to be a very, very fun match. So next up, we get a Young Bucks interview. They are with one of the production guys exchanging money because they won that $500,000 8-man tag a few weeks ago. Renee Paquette goes over with Nick saying, we are so back from rags to riches. I just got done with production. We're going to make our entrance very, very special. And this marks the beginning of the revamp for the Young Bucks. So they walk off. And then we see the Young Bucks make their entrance for their match. And they got tons of pyro going. On their lower graphic, it says, what great guys. So definitely interesting to see what money can do for these guys. And I'm going to say this. This might be a little bit controversial. And I know I've said I don't want Shane McMahon in AEW. Him maybe managing this version of the Young Bucks could be interesting. It could be a very interesting dynamic. Something to hang your hat on. As we get a qualifying match for a ladder match for the tag team titles, currently held by Brodito. That's Brody King and Bandito. So we got the Young Bucks taking on the Bang Bang Gang, being represented by Austin Gunn and Juice Robinson. And Juice, thank goodness, he's growing his hair back. His beard back. Because Juice without a beard just looks so strange. Anyway, this match was hard-hitting. It was a little bit quick, but I very much enjoyed it. Really good back and forth. Juice bringing out his chompers, which that's just funny. Juice hitting a run off the top rope, but Matt with a roll through, only to get a 2 count. Juice backdrops him onto the apron. That's where Young Bucks hit the TK driver to pick up the win. So they are in that Fatal 4-Way ladder match, which that should be fun. And then we get something weird. We get a little tailgate brawl hype video for the 8-woman tag tailgate brawl. That's going to happen on, I believe it's on TNT. It could be on TBS. That's where some of these matches are going to be. There's a couple more that's announced. We'll get to them. But first, we get the final qualifying match for the unified title match, as we get the Beast Mortos taking on Mascara Dorado. And Mortos, bright red mask this time, and he looks like a demon. And he looks so good. This match was a little awkward. I don't know if these guys never worked together before, but there was definitely some tweaking that needed to happen. But honestly, overall, this was just a fun matchup, with Mortos looking for backbreakers all match, with Dorado counting her out of it, hitting an H-bomb, big old knee strike, goes for a crossbody that gets caught. Mortos immediately into roll-up for a 2 count. Dorado with a run off the top for a 1 count. Hitting a crazy backbreaker, which was fantastic looking, into a shooting star press to pick up the win. Post-match, you see Kazuchika Okada holding the unified title. And then Don Callis, who hasn't been seen with Okada for a while, he's holding both the international and the, not the Crockett Cup, the continental title. And they have a little stare down, but then out comes the first challenger, Konosuke Takeshita. Takeshita gets right into Okada's face. They have a stare down. You see Don Callis trying to play peacemaker. But then we see Mascara Dorado with a big old crossbody to the outside. Takeshita moves, so Dorado takes out Okada. Then we see Dorado point right at Takeshita, and they have a stare down. Yeah, that match is going to absolutely rule. A great mix of styles. And this match was, while a little iffy in the beginning, it ended up being a lot of fun. So next we get the Spotlight segment from Timeless Toni Storm. She's at the top of the ramp. Spotlight hits her. And she says, "I'm the whore that you adore, the trollop you can't wallop, and this tramp is still the champ. But for how much longer?" Ooh, ooh. Anyway, Tony Storm continues. I don't know. 7 months ago, I got my title back. I slain everyone who stepped up. And I loved every single second of it. And because AEW is where the best wrestle, I'm about to put it all on the line. I risk it all versus 3 women who deserve this. And if this is the end, it's been the honor of my life. But if you really want a title, you're going to have to kill me for it. At that point, Jamie Hayter shows up. No music. Kind of brings the microphone over to her own lips. Says, I'm not a fan of you in the spotlight. But you're not going to look good without that title. It seems you've forgotten so much stuff. Tony brings it back to her. Says, I don't forget. Hayter brings it back. Says, you invited me into this match. And remember, Hayter hits hard. At that point, Chris Statlander comes out. Brings the microphone over to her. Says, I haven't wrestled for this in 4 years. Remember, you can't stop death. I'm going all out. And at that point, Thekla's music hits. The ref is holding back Tony Storm as we go into our next matchup, as it's a no-holds-barred match between Thekla and Queen Aminata. And they pretty much just brawl on the outside for a little bit. Aminata grabs some chairs. And they just destroy each other. This was a great little plunder match. But then after a spear onto an unfolded chair, which that looked awkward, we then get the end of show graphic for Dynamite. That then moves it to technically Collision, which is where HBO Max had a little problem and didn't show this entire show beginning to end on one channel. But we get back. Thekla is looking for the spear again. That gets intercepted by a chair throw from Queen Aminata. Aminata then with a big suplex into a chair, only for a 2 count. Thekla then sets up some chairs, puts Queen Aminata on them, goes for a leg drop, misses, but then hits a clothesline for the win, which is, honestly, that was a little awkward, and I feel like because they were a little short on time, they needed to cut something, which is definitely a shame. However, post-match, you have Thekla on the microphone, which is a first, at least in AEW, and she says, Tony, you can stop looking. Your end is right here. Short, sweet, to the point. Tony Storm comes out, and they have a huge brawl, with Hayter and Statlander looking to get in the ring, but they brawl with each other. Then in comes Sky Blue and Julia Hart, Thekla's stablemates. They just start beating up on Tony Storm and Tony Storm. Then we see Wheeler Yuta and Marina Shafir. They kind of get into Chris Statlander's face. Thekla was looking for a Uranagi. Tony blocks it, hits some strikes. Sky Blue goes for a chair shot. That misses. And then the Triangle of Madness bail out of the ring. Hayter gets in the ring. Looks like she is about to take Tony Storm's head off with the Haterade. Tony then turns around, sees her coming, and Hayter backs off as the refs just separate everybody. So, that 4-way women's match is definitely going to be interesting. We'll see if it's the end for the reign of Timeless Toni Storm. I kind of doubt it, but we'll see. Then we get an interview from Skyflight. That's Scorpio Sky, Dante Darius Martin, and Christopher Daniels. No Layla Gray. I am a little surprised by that, but we have Dante taking the lead, saying, we're feeling very good before our match. And since we've joined up with Scorpio Sky and Daniels, we've been on a roll. We're going to win this match, go on to All Out, and win the tag team titles. At that point, Hangman Adam Page rolls up, pretty much says, look, I've been dealing with the Don Callis family for a while now. Once you deal with one, you have to deal with them all. But I'm sure we'll all take care of them at All Out. So, definitely some good advice from Hangman Adam Page to these youngins. So next up, some very interesting developments as we get another qualifier for the Fatal 4-Way ladder match for the tag team titles. We got Killswitch and Chris Sabian taking on Speedball Mike Bailey and Kevin Knight of Jet Speed. And with Killswitch starting off, he pretty much overpowers both members of Jet Speed. But then Kip tags himself in. He gets his good stuff in, hits a scoop slam, reluctantly tags Killswitch in. He continues to overpower both Speedball Mike Bailey and Kevin Knight. Eventually, Jet Speed does get an advantage, but then Mama Wayne grabs Bailey's foot. Then let's go low bridge to Kip Sabian. And then he hits a moonsault. We get him back in. Kip Sabian takes some offense. Eventually does tag in Killswitch. Tries to hit a superplex, but that gets blocked. Kevin Knight gets in, hits a beautiful drop kick. Goes for a big DDT, that gets blocked. Kicks out of whatever Killswitch was about to do. Tags in Bailey, who just pretty much goes off on Killswitch. Hitting a splash. Knight hitting a shooting star for a 2 count. Killswitch a couple times goes for a choke slam. That gets blocked into a super kick DDT combination for a 2 count. Bailey with his moonsault knee drop for pretty much a nothing. Killswitch again goes for the choke slam. That gets blocked. Killswitch with a headbutt. Does hit the choke slam. But then you see Kip Sabian on the apron. Tag me in. Tag me in. Killswitch is like, no, I got this. So Sabian, who's up on the apron, gives Killswitch a slap in the face. Sabian tags himself in. Knight with an attempt to roll up. That's for a 2 count. Killswitch then pushes leg pegs. What does that mean? Knight off the top rope. Then we see Kip Sabian crawling over to Killswitch. He initially has his arms ready for a tag. Before he can make the tag, Killswitch pulls it away, drops off the apron, and leaves. And that leaves Kip Sabian all on his own. Eats a clothesline for a Knight. Tornado kick from Speedball Mike Bailey to pick up the win and qualify for the ladder match. This match was a lot of fun. Got a good nice little character development from Killswitch, who I got my fingers crossed. I'm hoping for a return of Luchasaurus. And honestly, let's get him back with Jungle Boy. Let's have Jurassic Express back for one last run. Anyway, post-match, we see Big Bill and Brian Keith. They're in some hallway. It looks like they're in some like children's hospital or something. But they're probably backstage somewhere. So Big Bill says, alright, it's going down. Me versus Eddie. That's what I've been hearing. That's what I see on the marquee. But I won't believe it until you show up. You've been sitting at home for 16 months now. Holy heck. Well, I've been up here running things. And you're going to realize real quick, as soon as you do show up, you don't belong in the ring with me. And if you do show up, you'll get exposed as the fraud that I know you to be. Holy cow, that was intense. Like, Big Bill is slowly turning into one of my favorites. We then get an all card rundown before we get a sit-down interview between Darby Allin and Bryan Danielson, who has changed his role into an announcer's role, which honestly is perfect for him. So Danielson asks, what made you decide to climb Everest? Darby responded, I felt like I was living my life for someone else. I was making everyone else while I was making everyone else happy, I was not making myself happy. In the wrestling world, there's a lot of snakes, but up there's no copter to the top. And I told people I was going to summit Mount Everest and hang this AEW flag at the top of the world. Yes, there is an AEW flag on top of Mount Everest right now. That is insane. That is insanely cool. Danielson then accepts the reply, asks, look what Mox did to you. He gave me his word. He would never turn his back on family. I don't know. This is Darby now. He did give his word, but whatever happened, I need you to give me your word. Whatever happens in this coffin match, I don't want you to get involved. What happens at Wrestle Dream still haunts me. Danielson, trying to comfort him, says, no, that wasn't your fault. Then Darby says, give me your word, you will not get involved. Danielson replies, I promise, I will get involved. Then Danielson asks, no, Darby then asks, promise me one other thing. Then Darby goes very close to Danielson's ear, whispers something that we don't hear. Darby releases. Danielson then says, you have my word. So, obviously when we went back to live action, Taz was trying to get that information out of Danielson, but Danielson is keeping it quiet. So, I'm not sure what that could be. Maybe Darby asked Danielson to find Sting, maybe? Maybe he promised him a certain weapon or something? Either way, I guess we'll see it all out, which is this weekend. It's tomorrow afternoon, which is insane. Anyway, at this point, we see Mercedes Moné joining commentary, and she has all of her belts, all 9 of her belts, set up on like a side table, sitting next to the announcer's table for our next match, as we see Robin Renegade, who I have not seen on AEW TV in, I feel like, years, as she takes on, making her in-ring return, former AEW Women's Champion, Riho. And honestly, this match was a little awkward. I'm going to say that. Like, things weren't hit as flush as I think they could. And it just kind of went by. Like, one point, Robin did get some fight in, but after a crucifix spin, your winner is Riho. Moné gets off commentary. It looks like she's just about to get into Riho's face. But then Robin Renegade, while she's down, grabs Riho's leg. Riho turns around. Looks like she's about to attack Robin. Moné slides in, hits a backstabber to finish the segment. So, yeah, that's definitely going to be interesting. That match should be a ton of fun. It's a match I never thought I'd get to see, but I'm so happy to see it. We then get a recap of Jerry Lynn trying to bring the Acclaimed back together on Collision, which I wouldn't mind that. Like, the solo run for Caster and Bowens hasn't been that great. So, yeah, bringing the Acclaimed back together. Although without Billy Gunn, which is very strange. Anyway, next we get a promo from the Death Riders. So it's Marina Shafir, Claudio Castagnoli, Daniel Garcia, and I want to say Yuta, but I think someone else was in there. With Garcia taking the lead, saying, actually no, it's Claudio, saying, last time we faced each other, we left the Ops laying. While they did win the Trios titles, we're going to get our revenge. And Garcia, you clearly want to be someone. And as he challenges Katsuyori Shibata one-on-one. And now, then it cuts to the Ops, kind of cutting a similar promo, saying, with Joe saying, okay, Garcia wants to be someone. But know this, he might come out a nobody. The challenge has been made. Let's make him regret it. Now, at first, I thought this was a challenge for the Trios titles, but apparently not. So we're going to get Shibata versus Garcia one-on-one, and then we're going to get Hobbs and Samoa Joe taking on the Workhorsemen on the All-Out pre-show. So, yeah, that's a little odd, but it still should be a fun little thing. And a fine a la Mo, we got our main event of the evening and of the week. We got the last spot of the 4-way ladder match up for grabs, as we have the Don Callis family being represented by Josh Alexander and Hensha Zero taking on Darius and Dante Martin of Top Flight. And this was a dang good match. You had the technical prowess of Hensha Zero and Alexander. You had the absolutely nutty, high-flying abilities of Top Flight. And it just meshed so well. It was such a good dang matchup. And honestly, I'd love to see These two teams go at it once again. One point, Dante was up on the top rope looking for his finish. Josh Alexander pushes him off the top rope right into the waiting arms of Henchazero, locks in the guillotine choke for the submission win. At that point, we have Christopher Daniels coming out. He's checking on Top Flight. At that point, we see other members of the Callis family come out, including Lance Archer and Rocky Romero. There was maybe someone else in there I didn't really see. And they just started beating down Top Flight. And Christopher Daniels. And as that happens, Scorpio Sky and Jet Speed even the odds. They brawl for a little bit. Then the Young Bucks come out, join in. As does the tag team champions, Bandito, who clears the ring. Bandito with a massive moonsault. Brawl continues to the back. Archer has Daniels ready for the choke slam. Hangman Adam Page makes the save. Fights off the Callis family. Archer has him locked in for a choke slam. That gets caught. Clotheslines him over the top rope. This brings out Kyle Fletcher. Looks like he's about to hit Hangman with the TNT title. Hangman cuts him off. Then a low blow from Rocky Romero. Then Archer, Romero, and Fletcher just beat the heck out of Hangman. Romero goes to the outside of the ring, goes underneath, grabs a table out, sets it up on ringside. Looks like Fletcher is about to hit a brainbuster off the apron through the table. Hangman blocks it. Has Fletcher perfectly set up for the buckshot lariat. That gets intercepted by Kyle Fletcher with a big boot. Sets him up on the apron again. Hits the brainbuster through the table. Then Kyle gets back in the ring. Picks up the AEW World title. Holds it. And the TNT title over his head to end the night. This was an extremely entertaining night of wrestling. I do wish some more of these matches for All Out were set a bit more ahead, but honestly, I'm not going to complain a whole heck of a lot. We got a lot done in this episode. And now, we're all set for All Out, which looks like a great card. So, All Out this week, we got a pretty big weekend of wrestling. All Out is going to be at 3 o'clock p.m. in the afternoon. Then I think we got WWE WrestlePalooza at either 7 or 8 p.m. That's going to be on the ESPN app. So, whatever wrestling you're going to watch, I hope you enjoy it. I think I'm going to stick with All Out, if it's all the same to you guys. So, that's it for me for this week. Probably not going to be any videos coming this week because I am going on a little vacation. It's just going to be for a week. I should be back Friday afternoon-ish, maybe Friday evening-ish. Maybe I'll try to catch up on the wrestling then. But more than likely, not going to be videos. Probably end up doing a makeup video for the week. Maybe on Saturday or Sunday, depending on how I'm feeling. But I hope you all have an amazing couple of days. Don't miss me too much. Till next time. Happy wrestling, everybody. Peace.